Under the gazes of countless cultivators, Wang Lin flew away in the void with Li Yuan following closely after. The two gradually disappeared into the void. Along the way, Li Yuan wanted to ask many times, but he endured and didn't mention anything about Zhang Konglai. Given Li Yuan's wisdom, he knew that he shouldn't ask about everything. Everyone has their own secrets. Time quickly passed, and in the blink of an eye months went by. As they got closer to the center, they saw more and more people. Finally, on this day, they arrived at the center of the Thunder Celestial Realm. After arriving here, they couldn't see any more cultivators. This place was completely dark and they couldn't see anyone. Standing in the void, Wang Lin carefully looked around. In the Yao family members' memories, the sealed fragment containing the collection pavilion was right here. Wang Lin asked, "Brother Li, do you see anything abnormal about this place?" Li Yuan began to move his hand the moment Wang Lin stopped. He looked at the place, and after a moment his eyes became serious. He nodded and said, "There are ripples of a restriction here. Although it is faint, I can feel it with my restriction heart. This is similar to a celestial restriction, but somewhat different." As he spoke, he pressed down his left hand. A restriction immediately flew out and split into 18 into the void. At this moment, an illusory outline appeared in a flash and then disappeared without a trace. Wang Lin's eyes lit up. At the moment that outline appeared, he vaguely saw a half-transparent fragment suddenly appear in the void. There was a towering pavilion on the fragment. However, because it had disappeared right away, it was impossible to get a better view. Li Yuan said, "Brother Su, I need some time." Whenever he was breaking restrictions, there would be an aura of self-confidence around him. After he finished speaking, he sat down in the void. His left hand continued to form seals, releasing restrictions that combined together. Sometimes he would press his finger between his eyebrows and black lines would fly out. The black lines would wrap around the extremely complex restrictions and fly into the void. In those instances, the shadow of that fragment would suddenly reappear and then disappear the next instant. This happened too fast to rush in during the gap. Wang Lin wasn't anxious. Instead, he focused on the fragment whenever it appeared. As Li Yuan placed down more restrictions, the fragment gradually appeared more and more frequently. Wang Lin slowly got a better picture of this fragment. The huge pavilion at the center of the fragment was like 4 long thorns. They resembled 2 pairs of bull horns going into the sky. There were 4 people sitting at the top of the 4 horns. They were completely motionless and didn't even pay any attention when Wang Lin looked over. Wang Lin's pupil shrank and there was a flash of coldness in his eyes. Li Yuan said, "Brother Su, if you want to completely break this restriction, it will take several months. If we simply want to send you in, then with your speed combined with my restrictions, there is an 80% chance of success." Wang Lin took a step forward and arrived at the edge of the fragment. He slowly said, "Then send me in. Brother Li, hide yourself well because it is dangerous here. Don't get implicated by me. And when I obtain the celestial spell, we will leave." Li Yuan didn't waste any time. His hand pointed between his eyebrows and several black lines flew out. They intersected to form a brand. Then he created countless restrictions that entered the brand and it gave off waves of black light. Li Yuan's eyes lit up as he pointed forward and shouted, "Restriction heart burst." When the restriction brand landed in the void, the fragment immediately appeared. This time it flickered constantly. It disappeared, reappeared, then disappeared again. This rapid cycle made everything very colorful. As for that brand, it still gave off a black light. As the fragment continued to change, it began to spread and formed a circular passage. However, this passage wasn't stable and seemed like it could collapse at any moment. "Enter." At the moment Li Yuan shouted, Wang Lin rushed out like a bolt of lightning and charged into the circular passage. Just as he entered the passage, it collapsed. Then the fragment disappeared into the void along with Wang Lin. "I hope Brother Su has a good harvest." Li Yuan pondered for a moment before his left hand formed a seal and a restriction appeared. His body gradually became hidden, and not the slightest bit of his aura leaked out. The surrounding void returned to being peaceful. Wang Lin's body appeared on the fragment like lightning. The moment he appeared, his divine sense spread out. Behind him was not the void but a screen of restrictions. It was precisely these restrictions that separated this place from the rest of the celestial realm. and made it a forbidden ground for the 4 great families. The moment his divine sense spread out, he locked onto the pavilion at the center. At this moment, one of the 4 people on the pavilion opened his eyes. He coldly looked into the distance and then disappeared. Wang Lin moved extremely fast and charged directly at the pavilion. There was a ripple of origin energy before him, and then a person walked out. He was middle-aged and wore a black robe. His face was cold, and as soon as he appeared, his hand formed a seal and he pressed down. "I have been watching you for a long time. Trespassing on forbidden grounds, die." His right hand flickered and a powerful impact rushed over. Wang Lin immediately retreated and waved his right hand. The collision of their origin energy caused a loud rumble that spread across the fragment. The black-robed man's eyes were cold. He had long since noticed that Wang Lin's cultivation level was the same as his, corporeal yang. At this moment he stepped forward while his right hand formed a seal and he muttered something. A powerful force suddenly descended from the sky. Shortly after, a ray of celestial thunder suddenly appeared in the sky and descended toward Wang Lin. This is the Thunder Celestial Realm, and the collection pavilion belongs to the Celestial Realm. Why can your 4 great families come but I can't? Wang Lin let out a cold snort and charged out. The celestial thunder was descending from the sky, but Wang Lin didn't dodge at all. His origin soul came out and devoured the celestial thunder. Thunder immediately covered his body, making him look very shocking. The black-robed man was startled and his expression became gloomy. He obviously didn't think Wang Lin could directly devour celestial thunder. Just at this moment, Wang Lin's eyes lit up and he opened his mouth and spat out a grain of sand. This grain of sand immediately grew into the fragment stamp. It gave off a powerful pressure as it pressed down on the black-robed man. "Because you're not qualified." While the black-robed man sneered, he raised his hand and formed a seal. However, his expression changed immediately as his spell had no effect on the descending fragment stamp. The fragment stamp suddenly smashed down with astonishing momentum. The pressure it gave actually made it so the black-robed man couldn't dodge. At this instant the fragment smashed down. The black-robed man's eyes revealed shock as he bit the tip of his tongue and spit out a large amount of blood. His body gave off a blood-colored glow, and just as the fragment stamp smashed down, he charged out of the pressure. He reappeared 1,000 feet away. Just as he reappeared, his face became pale. He revealed a vicious gaze before turning around and leaving without a word. Wang Lin raised his right hand to grab the stamp and gave chase. The 2 of them charged toward the pavilion at the center one after the other. The black-robed man flew next to the pavilion and quickly shouted, "Still not going to act?" The other 3 people on the pavilion opened their eyes. In a flash, they appeared next to the black-robed man and coldly looked at the incoming Wang Lin. The remaining 3 people were at the corporeal yang stage. Right now 4 corporeal yang cultivators were standing there, and their powerful auras were locked on to Wang Lin. A thick killing intent spread out. Wang Lin's eyes became cold and he slowly said, "The collection pavilion doesn't belong to your 4 families. Let me pass and we don't have to fight. If not, even if I lose, half of you will die." One of them coldly said, "Unless you're at the Nirvana Scryer stage, outsiders are not qualified to enter the pavilion." They had naturally seen Wang Lin's cultivation level, and that scene just now shocked them greatly. However, with the 4 of them together, they weren't worried about Wang Lin. At this moment, the black-robed man's aura stabilized. He let out a cold snort before he stepped out and slapped his bag of holding. A red flying sword immediately flew out, and with the point of his finger, it flew toward Wang Lin. The remaining 3 also rushed out. One of them formed a seal that created a gust of wind, and suddenly a tornado appeared. The remaining 2 looked at each other and then they each formed a seal. Wang Lin's eyes lit up as he immediately retreated. Then he raised his right hand and the fragment stamp mercilessly smashed down. 2 of the cultivators used a spell and formed a yin and yang pattern. The pattern rotated, gave off a mysterious energy, and charged toward Wang Lin. The 2 that made the yin and yang pattern immediately flew into the air. With the point of their fingers, the yin and yang pattern confronted the fragment. The 2 of them also activated more spells, preventing the fragment from descending. As for the other 2 people, they moved toward Wang Lin like lightning, with spells and magical treasures in hand. They were filled with killing intent. As Wang Lin retreated, every step caused a large amount of ripples as if his body was merging with the world. After retreating many steps, he suddenly stopped and took a step forward. With this step, Wang Lin's body disappeared without a trace, and when he reappeared, he was behind the black-robed man. The black-robed man was shocked. He suddenly turned around and the red sword flew toward Wang Lin. Wang Lin's eyes were calm as he pointed forward and shouted, "Stop!" In an instant, that black-robed man and the flying sword all froze. Wang Lin ignored the flying sword and stepped forth without any hesitation. He arrived before the black-robed man, pointed between the black-robed man's eyebrows, and origin energy surged out. The black-robed man's body immediately collapsed and his origin soul flew out. He panicked and was about to flee when the karma whip suddenly appeared. The whip lashed at the origin soul, causing the black-robed man to let out a miserable groan, and a large amount of origin energy was released. Just at this moment, the other person rushed over with the huge tornado. It was obvious he wanted to obstruct Wang Lin's actions. Wang Lin didn't even look at the person as the beast tattoo on the back of his right hand moved and materialized. It charged ferociously at the cultivator with the tornado. At the same time, Wang Lin slapped his bag of holding and the 1 billion soul flag came out. It turned into a large black mist and attempted to swallow the black-robed man. The black-robed man was about to resist, but then he saw the blood ancestor's ferocious origin soul flickering inside the flag. The familiar face shocked him and caused him to lose focus. The consequence was him being surrounded by the black fog. All of this was done neat and clean. After collecting the black-robed man's origin soul, Wang Lin waved his sleeves and the black mist surrounded the area. He stared at the remaining three and grimly said, "I want to enter the collection pavilion." The minds of the two that were resisting against the fragment stamp trembled. Before they had time to speak, they heard another cry. They saw the cultivator who used the tornado quickly retreat. The beast bone gave off a ghostly light as it released an unimaginably monstrous and evil aura that filled the world. At this moment, this evil aura was very powerful and had already reached its peak. Even though Wang Lin was its owner, he still felt shocked by it. That evil aura was simply too strong. If Wang Lin was like this, there was no need to talk about the other three people. The moment the evil aura appeared, it disappeared without a trace. However, the tornado spell used by that cultivator turned into a stone statue. When the beast bone's gaze landed on him, the cultivator's expression turned pale and he immediately retreated. However, just at this moment that rich, evil aura appeared once more. The cultivator's eyes filled with panic and his right hand immediately turned gray. The gray spread like crazy, and at the moment of crisis he didn't hesitate to lift his left hand and directly cut off his right hand. Disregarding the blood spraying everywhere, he retreated to more than 10,000 feet away and immediately sat down in the lotus position. Even though he had cut off his own arm, the gray didn't disappear and instead spread from his left hand. His eyes were filled with despair and he clenched his teeth. At the moment the gray had almost completely covered his whole body. His origin soul flew out, abandoning his body. At the moment his origin soul flew out, his entire body turned a stone statue without a hint of vitality. In the air, the only thing that remained was his weakened origin soul. The surroundings were completely quiet. "I'm going to ask you for. Am I qualified?" Wang Lin's gaze fell on the two cultivators that were resisting the stamp, and his voice was ice cold. The cultivation's families had classifications that outsiders didn't know about. Like in the Alliance star system, a rank 7 cultivation planet was the peak existence on the surface. Rank 8 cultivation planets were very rare, so much so that the entire Alliance star system only had 3. As for the most mysterious rank 9 cultivation planet, there was only one in the entire Alliance star system. The cultivation families in the All Heaven star system had similar classifications, but they focused more on history. Only long-lasting cultivation families could become an eternal existence in the All Heaven star system. In the All Heaven star system, the most common were the cultivation families on the main cultivation planets of the 4 different domains. There was not much difference in their strength, and 3 or 4 cultivation families existed on each planet. For example, the Tang family and the Zhan family were both at the peak of their planets. Above these cultivation families were the 4 great families with inheritances from the celestial realm. They were the most powerful force in the all-heaven star system on the surface. Tracing back to their roots, the ancestors of these 4 great families were all celestials in the Thunder celestial realm before its collapse, so their statuses were not ordinary. Likewise, there were 2 more families above these 4 great families. They usually kept very low profiles, but they were the true powers in the all-heaven star system. They had even older inheritances than the 4 families. These families existed in ancient times before the collapse of the celestial realm, and had survived the collapse of the celestial realm. These families had inheritances from the ancient cultivation world, and there were 6 such families in the all-heaven star system. The mysterious Xiang family on planet Donglin and Li Yuan's family were among the 6. However, after countless years, many of the families with inheritances from the ancient cultivation world had declined. The Li family was one example, and in addition to them there were 3 more. Right now only 2 of these families remained. Just like how the Alliance system had a rank 9 cultivation planet, the all-heaven star system also had a family that had survived even longer than that. This was a family that had been around since the primordial times. The primordial cultivation family was the true powerhouse of the all-heaven star system, and it was extremely mysterious. To exist from the primordial times until today, that kind of power was terrifying. That meant that this family had experienced the evolution of cultivation from ancient times, experienced the collapse of the celestial realm, and experienced the creation of the Thunder Celestial Temple. They had experienced all the changes in the all-heaven star system. It was very likely that this family that had been around since the primordial era knew the secret of the ancient celestial realm. Just the spells that they held were enough to stand over the all-heaven star system. Aside from the rank 8 and 9 cultivation planets in the Alliance star system, Wang Lin already knew all of this. While he was coming here, Li Yuan had told him everything about the cultivation families. This was why Wang Lin was so calm when facing the 4 great families that had inheritances from the celestial realm. The 2 old men holding up the fragment stamp above the pavilion silently pondered for a moment. One of them Woi smiled and said, "For fellow cultivator to have such powerful spells and treasures, you can't be a nobody. Please leave behind your name." Wang Lin calmly said, "Su Mu." The old man's eyes narrowed and he said, "Even though Brother Su hasn't reached the Nirvana Scryer stage, we are unable to stop you. You have the qualifications to enter the collection pavilion." Just as he finished speaking, the old man beside him looked at Wang Lin and suddenly asked, "Does fellow cultivator Su have any relation with the Su family on planet Donglin?" Wang Lin calmly looked at the person who spoke. That old man hesitated before his eyes lit up and he said, "If fellow cultivator isn't someone from the Su family, then as a representative of the Chun family, I invite fellow cultivator to become a non-family elder." Wang Lin's eyes lit up and he revealed a faint smile. "That isn't impossible, but my current goal is to enter the collection pavilion. So I hope you 3 fellow cultivators allow me to." Wang Lin glanced at the origin soul that had lost its flesh. That cultivator who had lost his body let out a sigh and felt complicated. When he heard Wang Lin's words, he knew that Wang Lin was very knowledgeable about the collection pavilion. Only after the collection pavilion was opened could one enter, and it required at least 2 people from the 4 great families to open. What happened next was simple. The 3 of them worked together to open the collection pavilion. The 4 corners slowly trembled and the 4 horns slowly touched each other. A ray of gentle light suddenly appeared and an oval door made of light appeared where the 4 horns touched. "Fellow cultivator Su, my Chun family has entered the collection pavilion hundreds of times. Although obtaining a celestial spell depends on luck, and what everyone sees is different, it isn't completely random. The longer you last, the more precious the celestial spell you obtain at the end will be." Wang Lin nodded slightly. From the Yao family members' memories, he knew that the 4 great families didn't have the power to set up a trap inside the collection pavilion. Moreover, everything that appeared was exactly the same as the Yao family members' memories. Wang Lin no longer hesitated. He withdrew his magical treasures and appeared before the door. He then took a deep breath and stepped inside. After Wang Lin went in, the old man who had lost his body sighed and said, "If we had known he was so powerful, we wouldn't have attacked and would have just let him go inside. With his cultivation, the highest he will go is the 4th floor like us. The 4th floor is our limit, but his spells and magical treasures are fierce." We have the same cultivation levels, but it was obvious that he was holding back. I fear that if it wasn't for the fact that he knew that he needed us to open the collection pavilion, he wouldn't have just killed one person in that battle. The old man who lost his body wryly smiled. Indeed, I could tell that he wanted to kill 2 people. If it wasn't for me escaping quickly enough, then my origin soul would have collapsed as well. The old man from the XIAN family slowly said, "Forget it. What's the point of talking about this now? Since he entered, then he entered. The celestial spell at the 4th floor is his limit. The rest will depend on his luck." The old man who lost his body asked, "Elder XIAN, are you really going to invite that person to become a non-family elder in your XIAN family?" Elder XIAN nodded and said, "That person is very formidable. My XIAN family needs such a person, so fellow cultivators, please don't compete with me. If this person really does become my XIAN family's non-family elder, then please pretend you too don't know what happened to fellow cultivator Yao. As for fellow cultivator Lu's body, my XIAN family will compensate. Fellow cultivator Song, my XIAN family will also give you a gift. Of course, this is under the premise that this person agrees to enter my XIAN family." As the 3 spoke, Wang Lin arrived at a mysterious space. The surroundings were covered in a gray mist and his divine sense couldn't spread out. A faint murmur was coming from all directions into Wang Lin's ears, but he couldn't clearly hear what was being said. Just at this moment, the surrounding mist suddenly began to move. It was very fast, and the waves of mist gathered before Wang Lin. In the blink of an eye, it turned into a person. This person was made of mist. His clothes were unclear, but his face could be clearly seen. His appearance was ordinary, but he had an aura vastly different from a cultivator. After he appeared, he calmly looked at Wang Lin. He then raised his right hand with his palm facing outward and remained motionless. Wang Lin's eyes narrowed. He knew from the Yao family members' memories that although the process was not the same for everyone, there was one similarity at the start. That was the test of one's cultivation level. After pondering a bit, Wang Lin stepped forward and arrived before the person. He raised his right hand and pressed it against the other's palm. In an instant, a mysterious force entered Wang Lin's body. It cycled once through his body before leaving, and a low voice suddenly echoed, "Rank 8 Greater Celestial. You can enter the 4th floor of the collection pavilion to test your luck for a celestial spell." As Wang Lin retracted his right hand, his eyes lit up and he muttered, "Rank 8 Greater Celestial. I wonder how the cultivation among celestials are divided. I haven't reached the peak of the corporeal yang stage yet. I wonder what rank celestial I will be when I reach the peak of the corporeal yang stage." At this moment, the person made of mist slowly dissipated. Wang Lin knew that once it completely dissipated, he would be teleported to the 4th floor and everything after would depend on his luck. However, no matter how good his luck was, he could only obtain a celestial spell from the 4th floor. While he didn't know how many floors the collection pavilion had, it was obvious that the higher the floor, the better quality the celestial spell. At the highest floor, even the most common celestial spell would be a top-tier existence in the lower floors. However, the cultivation level test couldn't be faked. It all depended on one's own strength, and that in itself was a type of luck. Only those with powerful cultivation could obtain precious celestial spells. If one's cultivation level wasn't high enough, then there was no need to talk about it. Seeing that the person made of mist was about to completely disappear, Wang Lin's eyes lit up and he suddenly had a bold idea. The moment this idea appeared, his heart started pounding and even his mouth became dry. After hesitating for a bit, he clenched his teeth and a pagoda appeared in his hand. His eyes gave off a mysterious light as his left hand hit the pagoda. The white-robed woman immediately appeared before Wang Lin. Wang Lin retreated a few steps and his hand formed a seal. He used his origin energy to control the woman to raise her right hand and touch the slowly dissipating palm of the man made of mist. In an instant, the man made of mist showed signs of collapse. His entire body trembled, and after a long time, a low voice echoed, "Rank 9 Celestial Lord. You can go to the 9th floor of the collection pavilion to check for celestial spells." Wang Lin's eyes were filled with excitement as he tightly tightened his fist and immediately withdrew the woman back into the pagoda, then back into his bag. His heart was pounding. It was very rare for him to have such violent mood swings. There is a great difference between obtaining a celestial spell through luck and being able to choose a celestial spell. The figure disappeared and the mist turned into steps before Wang Lin. The steps led upwards with no end in sight. Wang Lin took a deep breath and revealed a decisive gaze. As he walked up the steps one by one, the steps behind him slowly disappeared. At this moment, the three old men outside the pavilion were talking to each other. A bright light suddenly came from the collection pavilion and became more and more dazzling. The old man from the Chun family's eyes fell on the light and he calmly said, "Fellow cultivator Su's chance is about to start. I just don't know what kind of celestial spell he can obtain on the 4th floor." That cultivator named Lu, who had lost her body, nodded and said, "Cultivation has some relation with luck. Although it is not great at certain times, it has desirable effects. I'm guessing that he will be able to obtain a pretty good celestial spell inside." The final cultivator named Song didn't speak. He stared at the pavilion as his eyes lit up and he said in a low voice, "Something is wrong." The other two were startled as they looked at the collection pavilion, and their expressions immediately changed. On the top of the collection pavilion, after the first ray of light, 4 more rays of light shot out into the sky, creating ripples that spread out. From the ground, this scene looked extremely grand. 5 rays of light. That person has actually entered the 5th floor. The cultivator named Lu that had lost her body looked at the 5 rays of light and revealed a look of disbelief. "It looks like we have underestimated fellow cultivator Su. He is absolutely at the peak of the corporeal yang stage and maybe even half a step into the nirvana scryer stage. He barely reached the standard for entering the 5th floor." The cultivator named Su's eyes lit up. The cultivator named Chan slowly said, "If he was at the nirvana scryer stage, it would be impossible to enter the thunder celestial realm. Unless..." Before he finished speaking, more light appeared from the collection pavilion. This time it was 2 rays of light, and they lined up with the other 5 rays of light. 7 extremely magnificent rays of light shot into the sky. This sight caused the 3 of them to become completely dumbfounded. The old man named Song stared at the sky as he muttered to himself with aghast in his eyes. "Impossible, 7 rays of light means the 7th floor. Impossible." As the cultivator named Lu stared at the 7 rays of light, her mind was completely blank. As for the cultivator named Chan, his reaction was even stronger. His eyes were filled with extreme shock as he muttered to himself, "What cultivation level is needed to enter the 7th floor? That Sumu can't have that kind of cultivation. Could it be? Does he really have that kind of luck to enter the 7th floor without needing to pass the test to enter it?" Just as the 3 of them were feeling dumbfounded, 2 more rays of light shot. Now there were 9 rays of light going into the sky. To the 3 of them, this was like thunder rumbling in their ears. The 3 of them couldn't say a word as they stared blankly at the sky. If it was 5 rays of light, they could understand it because Sumu might have hidden his cultivation level. Although it would be a surprise, they could reluctantly accept it. However, after 7 rays of light appeared, while they were shocked, they refused to believe that Sumu was hiding his cultivation level. The 9th ray of light could only be explained by great luck, as there was no other alternative. The impact the 9 rays of light brought to them was too great. It has to be said that when the ancestors of their respective families came when the celestial realm opened, they only managed to enter the 8th floor. No one could enter the 9th floor. After Wang Lin had walked for a while, he finally reached the end of the steps. The step below him shined brightly and a pavilion appeared before him. This pavilion wasn't big, and it had more than 10 wooden frames on each side. Each frame had a celestial jade that gave off a gentle glow. On the wall directly before him hung a painting. There was a tree in the painting, and half of the tree had yellow leaves. There was a boy under the tree that seemed to be cultivating. On the upper left corner of the painting there was a line written in ink. "Call the wind, summon the rain, magic arsenal. Lands collapse, mountains crumble. Dark moon, clear skies." Wang Lin silently pondered for a moment while staring at the painting. He wasn't able to find anything interesting about the painting, but he found that line very interesting. Call the wind, summon the rain should be 2 spells. Magic arsenal should also be a spell. As for the second half, the first part, lands collapse, mountains crumble, should be the same, but what is the meaning of dark moon, clear skies? Wang Lin couldn't see through the meaning behind it, So he withdrew his gaze and began to observe the room. This room was very simple. It didn't even have a table. However, on the ground was a stone mat that had sunken in. It was apparent that someone had cultivated on this mat a lot to cause this. Wang Lin took a few steps forward and carefully looked at the mat. It looked very ordinary without anything special about it, but when he tried to touch it, to his surprise, his hand went through the mat. Wang Lin frowned slightly and then looked at the wooden frames around him. After a moment, his expression became gloomy. The joy from before disappeared completely. Even though there were celestial jades inside these wooden frames like the mat, they were all illusory and simply didn't exist. As he observed, he let out a wry smile. He found that he could only see the things here but not touch them. It was as if everything was only an illusion. If had known this, I would have gone to the 4th floor. At least it wouldn't be like this. Wang Lin frowned as his gaze swept the room before his eyes fell on the painting right before him. After pondering a while, Wang Lin's eyes lit up and he sat down in the ground. He stared at the painting and became silent. The 9th layer, which is where a celestial lord would come, can't be that simple. Perhaps this scene is only illusory in my eyes and a celestial lord can easily see everything. If that is the case, then this painting here is a bit strange. Wang Lin carefully looked at the painting. Time slowly passed and Wang Lin gradually calmed down. He was unwilling to obtain nothing on the 9th floor. After analyzing the situation, he believed this painting was the key. He simply let go of all thoughts and became absorbed in the painting to see some clues within it. He gradually became calm and his mind became immersed in the painting. As time passed, Wang Lin slowly closed his eyes. Even when he closed his eyes, that painting still appeared in his mind. It was as if he had entered the painting. After a long time, he opened his eyes and muttered, "Something is wrong. There is a faint barrier preventing me from truly entering the painting." After pondering a while, his eyes suddenly narrowed and his gaze fell on the boy under the tree. He clearly remembered the boy was just cultivating without making any seals with his hands. However, at this moment, the boy's hand made a seal. This discovery caused Wang Lin's mind to tremble, and he began to carefully observe the painting. Time passed once more. In the blink of an eye, 7 days went by. The key thing Wang Lin found was that every 2 to 3 hours, the boy's hand would change. However, this change was very subtle, and unless he was paying attention, it was difficult to notice. During these 7 days of time, Wang Lin memorized all the seals the boy made. On the 8th day, he sat down and began forming the seals. Right when the seals appeared, the entire pavilion began to shake. Wang Lin immediately stopped and carefully looked around before he continued to make the seals. Just like before, when the seals appeared, the entire pavilion shook as if it was shrinking. This discovery shocked Wang Lin greatly. His hand moved even faster, but after a few shakes, the pavilion stopped shaking. Baffled, Wang Lin looked at the painting and his hand moved even faster. He felt like his body was dissipating and his mind was drifting into the painting. When he made the last seal, he felt a boom in his head and his body fell on the ground. His origin soul felt a vibration and he became dizzy. When his vision became clear, his mind trembled as he stared at his surroundings. The surroundings were filled with void, and behind him stood a large tree. Half of the tree was yellow, and when a breeze blew by, the swaying of the leaves created rustling sounds. Wang Lin lowered his head and found that he was wearing a Taoist robe. He had entered the painting and had become that boy. This scene was simply too strange. Wang Lin stood up and looked at the sky. In the upper right corner of the sky were black ink marks. These ink marks were the words he saw from the outside. Call the wind, summon the rain, magic arsenal, lands collapse, mountains crumble, dark moon, clear skies. As Wang Lin looked at that line, it immediately turned into drops of ink and fell down like rain on the surrounding ground. The void around him suddenly disappeared and was replaced by a lot of noise. Various illusory figures appeared in the void. He couldn't see their faces clearly, but as soon as they appeared, they all sat down. Eventually, Wang Lin was surrounded by people. Bursts of quiet conversations came from all directions, but while Wang Lin could hear them, he could never clearly hear what was being said. A moment later, all of the noise disappeared as a figure walked out. This person's figure was also vague, but when he appeared, A pressure surrounded the area. He floated in the air and sat down. He seemed to be smiling as a clear voice came out. Today, Master Carefree will paint the opening of the collection pavilion. Celestial Lord Runbai invited me to watch, so I simply invited you, my fellow celestial friends, to listen to me preach Tao while the painting is being done. This is the Tao I know. As that person spoke, he raised his right hand and a roaring wind appeared. This wind became black and covered the sky. As it swept across the sky, it turned into 9 black dragons. The roars of the dragons and their powerful auras caused the sky to change color. As the black wind swept the area, the 9 black dragons spat out chilling winds. That unimaginable power made people feel like their life was like a candle. If they were hit by this wind, they would immediately die. It was as if any living thing in the world would die upon being hit by that wind. The power contained within that wind was beyond Wang Lin's imagination. This is called the wind. To put it simply, call the wind is like this. It can extinguish the fire of all living things. Wang Lin's mind shook greatly as an unimaginable pain appeared as if it wanted to tear him apart. His origin soul immediately collapsed and the fragments scattered. Just at this moment, a gentle force came from the void and warped around Wang Lin's origin soul. A clear voice laughed. The Celestial Emperor's spell is extraordinary. This spell named Call the Wind. This lord will write it down on Master Carefree's painting. This painting will be stored in the 9th floor of the collection pavilion. As for whether someone can comprehend this spell, it will depend on their luck. When this voice appeared, Wang Lin's origin soul seemed to turn into ink and was used to write 3 words. Call the wind. At the same time, a powerful force came from those 3 words. Wang Lin's origin soul reformed and flew out. His vision became blurry as he flew out of the painting and landed back in his body, which had fallen on the ground. Wang Lin's body trembled as he opened his eyes. His eyes were filled with horror, and those words still echoed in his ears. This is luck. Wang Lin took a deep breath and then stared at the painting. Everything that had happened felt extremely real. Celestial Emperor, Celestial Lord, and Master Carefree who painted the painting. As Wang Lin stared at the painting, he finally realized that the painting before him was drawn by the same person who made the paintings he saw in the storage space. After silently pondering for a long time, Wang Lin stood up. He didn't even look at the celestial jade on the side before leaving. Compared to everything he had obtained, everything else on the 9th floor became bleak. When he walked out from the 9th floor, stairs appeared below Wang Lin's feet. His eyes were still in a trance, as if he still hadn't recovered from the scene in the painting. Wang Lin muttered as he walked down the stairs. Celestial spell, call the wind. When he reached the bottom, he took a step and disappeared without a trace. After all the time that had passed, the 3 people outside the pavilion had recovered from the shock. It was just that they still couldn't believe it in their hearts. Jealousy gradually entered their minds. In the end, it became so powerful that it almost replaced their logic. After all, they couldn't even guess what kind of spell was in the 9th floor, but the more they couldn't guess, the stronger the desire to obtain it became. At this moment, the door of the collection pavilion lit up and Wang Lin walked out. He was still in a daze as he walked past the 3 of them and into the distance. The 3 immediately noticed that something was wrong with Wang Lin's current state. They looked each other in the eyes and saw the ruthlessness and decisiveness in each other's eyes. Sorry, fellow cultivator Su, but compared to referring you to the family, I want the celestial spell from the 9th floor more, especially because of your current state. If you were sober, I might have hesitated, but given the trance-like state you're in, this is a chance given to me by the heavens. The old man named Chen's eyes revealed killing intent. The 3 of them stopped hesitating and rushed out. They took out their most powerful treasures and launched their most powerful spells toward Wang Lin. Silver needles appeared before the cultivator named Chun. Each needle gave off a blue glow as his hand formed a seal and a huge illusory figure appeared around him. The figure was filled with celestial spiritual energy. It pointed toward Wang Lin and the needles shot out toward Wang Lin's back. The cultivator named Song had a yin and yang pattern in his hand, and as he threw it out, there was lightning moving through it. It was filled with powerful origin energy as it shot toward Wang Lin. He followed behind the pattern, and his right hand formed a strange seal and a long dark thread of silk appeared. The moment this strand of silk came out, It gave off a powerful pressure and a large amount of green mist. Finally, it was the female cultivator that had lost her body. She opened her mouth and spat out a small crystal fan. She grabbed it, threw it, and then spat out origin energy. The origin energy immediately turned into 6 dragons that surrounded Wang Lin to prevent him from escaping. The eyes of these 3 were bloodshot. They all held the idea that they must kill Wang Lin to obtain the celestial spell from the 9th floor. They were very fast, and their spells and magical treasures were rapidly approaching Wang Lin. In an instant they had already closed in. Wang Lin was still in a trance. His mind was still thinking about the magical scene he had witnessed with the wind. As the 3 of them closed in, Wang Lin subconsciously pointed his finger at them and muttered, calling the wind. The moment he said it, a black wind came out of Wang Lin's hand. This wind immediately grew and surrounded the area. As the cold wind blew, the sky darkened as if it was retreating. The entire fragment began to tremble and a powerful aura filled the world. All of this was because of the black wind, because of this celestial spell. It was as if the earth had memories of this spell, as if the sky had been beaten by this spell before. The moment the black wind appeared, the spell of the celestial emperor that had been gone for countless years had reappeared. The moment the wind appeared, it charged toward the 3 people behind Wang Lin without any hesitation. The moment the silver needles from the cultivator named XIAN touched the black wind, they exploded without any resistance. The figure that was pointing toward Wang Lin disintegrated as if it was a flame blown away by the wind. This is the celestial spell from the 9th floor. The cultivator named Chen's eyes revealed fear and his scalp was numb. In his mind, the black wind was going to wipe out his life. He couldn't raise any will to resist it. It was as if he was facing heaven's might. He quickly turned around to escape without any hesitation and teleported. However, even with teleportation it wasn't enough. As the wind blew, his body trembled and he reappeared from teleporting. His eyes dimmed and his body collapsed. His origin was like a fire that was extinguished by the black wind. All of this happened in an instant. Aside from the cultivator named XIAN, the cultivator named Song suffered a similar fate. The yin and yang pattern immediately collapsed along with his body. Terrified, he quickly abandoned his body and quickly escaped. As for the cultivator named Lu, the fan in her hand immediately collapsed the moment it touched the black wind. She was already in her origin soul form. Also terrified, she quickly retreated. At this moment, the black wind suddenly disappeared as if it had never appeared. Wang Lin's eyes were no longer in a trance and revealed clarity. So this is the celestial spell, Call the Wind. He took a deep breath and his face became pale as he took a step forward. The 1 billion soul flag came out from his bag and the black mist spread, chasing after the cultivator named Lu. As for himself, his eyes became cold and he spat out a grain of sand. It turned into a stamp that chased after the cultivator named Song. It instantly caught up and mercilessly smashed down. The cultivator named Song let out a scream, and his origin soul released a lot of origin energy. His eyes were filled with fear as he tried to continue to escape, but the karma whip appeared and dragged him to Wang Lin. Fellow cultivator Su, please have mercy. I know I was wrong. Not paying any attention to the cultivator named Song, Wang Lin's eyes became cold and he pinched his finger. The cultivator named Song's origin soul immediately collapsed and turned into origin energy that was devoured by Wang Lin. The powerful origin energy cycled through Wang Lin's body, and his face was no longer pale. He took a deep breath and immediately caught up to the cultivator named Lu, who was trapped by the soul flag. His hand reached out and the karma whip lashed out many times inside the black mist. Finally, he shook the soul flag and it captured the origin soul. Wang Lin's eyes became cold as he pulled out the origin soul of the cultivator named Lu out of the soul flag. If you kill me, the Lu family will never let you go. The cultivator named Lu screamed but suddenly stopped as Wang Lin pinched the origin soul and devoured it. His face was a bit ruddy but was still pale. Without hesitation, he reached into the soul flag and took out the origin soul of the first person he killed here. After crushing it into origin energy, he devoured it. After devouring the 3 origin souls, Wang Lin immediately sat down to cultivate. After a long time, his face gradually returned to normal, but there were still traces of paleness. Wang Lin opened his eyes and let out a mouthful of foul air. The air he spat out was actually black and was extremely shocking. What a strong celestial spell. I only gained a bit of understanding, and when I used it I actually couldn't control it. The consumption of origin energy was so strong that it almost sucked all the origin energy around the G realm. If I hadn't recovered it quick enough, the consequences would have been unimaginable. However, no matter how I look at it, it doesn't look like a celestial spell. It can even be called a devil spell. In addition, this spell uses too much origin energy. In order to use it, I need to have the origin souls of several yin and yang cultivators prepared. Wang Lin stood up and took the bags of holding of the people he had killed. He looked at the collection pavilion and muttered, "Unfortunately, this pavilion can't be taken away. Otherwise, the 4 great families would have already taken it by force out of the celestial realm. But I'm not willing to just leave it here. If I can take it away." As he pondered, Wang Lin's eyes suddenly lit up and he thought of the words he heard inside the painting. Master Carefree will draw a painting for the first opening of the collection pavilion. Wang Lin's eyes became brighter as he remembered the hand seals of the boy under the tree. When I used the seals before, I felt the pavilion tremble. Wang Lin's heart skipped a beat. He immediately moved and arrived next to the collection pavilion. He took a deep breath and his hands formed the seals he learned from the boy. In an instant, the collection pavilion began to glow. Before Wang Lin's eyes, the pavilion became smaller and smaller until it turned into a size that could fit inside one's palm and flew into Wang Lin's hand. Holding the collection pavilion in his hand, even with Wang Lin's mental strength, he let out a laugh. This laughter was filled with joy. Since I've made enemies of the 4 great enemies, I must be more vicious. As Wang Lin moved, he began covering the fragment with various devious restrictions. He used all of his abilities, using the fragment as the foundation to place restriction after restriction. This process lasted nearly 10 years, and eventually Wang Lin reached the edge of the fragment and left from where he entered. The restriction here prevented others from entering but not from leaving. Half a month later, Wang Lin and Li Yuan quickly moved through the void. Li Yuan's left hand was very sore, and the origin energy in his body was very thin. He looked at Wang Lin and wryly smiled. "Brother Su, I placed more than 10,000 restrictions near the edge of the fragment. When combined, the restrictions are very powerful. If the 4 great families don't send their powerhouses, they will be difficult to break." Half a month ago, when Wang Lin came out, Li Yuan immediately appeared. Under Wang Lin's request, Li Yuan completely sealed the fragment. However, he didn't use his family's restriction but various other restrictions. "Brother Li, I have finished my matters at the celestial realm. It is best we quickly leave." Wang Lin touched his bag and took out a thunder furnace. He had killed a lot of people, so it was easy for him to take one out. Li Yuan, who was not expecting to leave right now, asked, "Brother isn't going to check out the fragment with the celestial spiritual energy fluctuations?" Wang Lin shook his head. He looked into the void and said, "I'm not going." He remembered the 5-colored vortex in the passage and a bad feeling arose in his heart. Moreover, he had obtained the collection pavilion, and the excitement still hadn't disappeared. After taking such a treasure, the only thing in his mind was to leave as soon as possible. After all, this pavilion was extremely important to the 4 great families, whether it was their reputation or the actual value of the pavilion. Once they find out it's gone, they will immediately begin a massive hunt for Wang Lin. The fragment has already been sealed, so the chances of people finding out what happened there are low. He didn't tell Li Yuan he obtained the collection pavilion. After all, this matter was simply too important. Given Wang Lin's caution, unless he was fully confident, he wouldn't tell anyone. Li Yuan pondered a bit and then nodded. "That's fine. One must be at a certain location to leave the Thunder Celestial Realm. Only at the Celestial Gate can we use the Thunder Furnace to return." Wang Lin nodded. He had heard this before from Sheng Gonghu. The 2 of them made up their minds and moved through the void. The Celestial Gate was to the far west, and it was very far from where Wang Lin currently was. While the 2 of them flew through the void, a shocking change occurred in the Thunder Celestial Realm. Large amounts of cultivators had gathered on the 4 fragments where the huge celestial spiritual energy fluctuations occurred. Almost all of the cultivators in the Thunder Celestial Realm had found out about the celestial spiritual energy fluctuations one way or another, and as soon as they found out, they quickly made their way to one of the fragments. Due to the fluctuations of the celestial spiritual energy, four ancient restrictions appeared on the 4 fragments. Some were between mountains and some were inside large ruins. The celestial spiritual energy was coming from inside the restrictions. As more people gathered, there were naturally restrictions masters among them. After the more powerful cultivators reached an agreement, the various restriction masters began breaking the restrictions. The 4 fragments with celestial spiritual energy fluctuations appeared one each at the east, south, west, and north sides of the celestial realm. At this moment on the western fragment, Shen Gonghu calmly looked at the plain before him. There was a 10,000 feet wide ancient restriction that gave off rich celestial spiritual energy on the plains. A large amount of cultivators had gathered outside the restrictions. These cultivators were mostly in groups of 3 to 5. There were some restrictions masters attempting to break the restriction. Shen Gonghu frowned. He clearly remembered that he had come here a few months ago and there was no restriction. Why had such a large restriction appeared in such a short period of time? As he pondered, a sense of crisis appeared in his heart, but he didn't know why. At this moment, a ray of light came from the distance followed by more than 10 rays of sword energy that shot toward this location like lightning. When the rays of sword energy landed, the person at the front of these cultivators was Zhang Konglai. He immediately saw Shen Gonghu by himself. He arrived before Shen Gonghu in one step before clasping his hands and smiling. Brother Shen Gong came so early. Shen Gonghu frowned slightly and calmly said, "It is you who arrived late." Zhang Konglai faintly smiled as he stood next to Shen Gonghu. His gaze fell on the restriction in the distance as he asked, "Does Brother Shen Gong know who I met on the way?" "I don't know." Shen Gonghu's expression was neutral, and he didn't have any interest in Zhang Konglai's words. He only looked at the plain and pondered. Zhang Konglai already knew of Shen Gonghu's temper. He said, "It was Senior." Shen Gonghu's eyes lit up as he turned toward Zhang Konglai and asked, "Really?" Zhang Konglai smiled. 100% true. Senior said that he would come here if he finds the time. Shen Gonghu's eyes had a flash of joy. Zhang Konglai looked much more pleasing to his eyes now. He smiled and said, "According to my lord's strange personality, he should have some interest in this place." Zhang Konglai stared at the plain before him and nodded. "I presume Brother Shen Gong also noticed. The appearance of the formation here is too strange." Before he finished speaking, the formation before him flashed violently. Waves of formation fluctuations spread and many cultivators exclaimed. After that, many cultivators skilled in restrictions flew out, sending out restrictions to speed up the process of breaking it. There were many powerful cultivators around the formations. They were mostly from different families and were all scattered. They had a very tacit understanding about breaking the formation, and they didn't fight amongst themselves. Among the 4 fragments that had the formations, as people continued to try to break them, the northern fragment was the first to break the formation. A curved passage appeared before the eyes of the cultivators on the northern fragment. The tunnel was very long, and after the first cultivator charged in, all the remaining cultivators also entered. Several hours later, the miserable screams of the first cultivator to enter echoed inside the tunnel. At the same time, a ray of red light appeared inside the tunnel. In a flash, the entire tunnel collapsed and dissipated. This strange scene immediately shocked most of the cultivators inside, and they began to escape. However, under the red light, they all died miserable deaths one by one. Only a small number of cultivators survived through this huge occurrence. At this time, the formation on the eastern fragment was opened and a large amount of cultivators rushed in. The same thing occurred here. When the first cultivator saw the 5-colored vortex, he self-destructed and the entire tunnel was filled with red light. This wasn't over yet. The tragedy occurred once more on the southern fragment. In an instant, the entire Thunder Celestial Realm was bloodbath. At this moment, the formation on the western fragment, where Shen Gonghu and Zhang Konglai were, began to fluctuate violently. As it fluctuated more and more, even more cultivators began launching restrictions to break it. A moment later, the fluctuations exploded into countless shockwaves and the formation broke. A dark hole appeared on the ground and dense celestial spiritual energy formed a beam of light that shot into the sky. Some cultivators were unable to resist the temptation and charged in regardless of the celestial spiritual energy burning their bodies. After a few people took the lead, the other cultivators immediately rushed in as well. Xingong, who didn't move, and Zhang Konglai didn't move either. They both looked at each and saw the doubt in each other's eyes. This formation was broken too easily. Aside from the two of them, several other cultivators didn't move. Most of these people had broken through the peak of the late stage of Ascendant and were at the illusorying stage. After a long time, as more and more cultivators entered the tunnel, there was a muffled explosion. Miserable screams constantly came from inside the tunnel before the entire tunnel collapsed. All of the cultivators inside disintegrated together with the tunnel. Xingong, who and company's expressions changed greatly. They immediately flew into the air, and their eyes were filled with shock. All four formations on the four fragments were broken and their tunnels had collapsed. At this moment, an unimaginable amount of celestial spiritual energy suddenly exploded within the Thunder Celestial Realm and began to spread. At the same time, 9 fragments in the Thunder Celestial Realm shook violently and 9 different formations appeared above them. These formations were engraved deeply in the earth and emitted a powerful red light. This sudden and drastic change caused the cultivators in the Thunder Celestial Realm to be filled with confusion and fear. One of the 9 fragments collapsed. It wasn't that there was power beyond Nirvana Scryer being used, but a power beyond Nirvana Scryer had erupted from within. The fragment disintegrated layer by layer as the terrifying aura shot from the center of the fragment. Some of the escaping cultivators immediately discovered that the terrifying aura was coming from a severed arm. This severed arm was obviously sealed here countless years ago. Now that the 9 seals had been opened, the arm had regained its freedom. It flew directly toward the center of the Thunder Celestial Realm. At the moment the severed arm appeared, 7 of the 8 remaining fragments collapsed. In the end, 2 severed arms, 2 severed legs, a skull with a left eye, and a torso divided into 3 parts all flew toward the center of the Thunder Celestial Realm. The skull carried a smile as it flew through the void. Every time it saw cultivator, it would immediately devour the cultivator, causing their body to collapse. After devouring an origin soul, the left eye would glow even brighter. The speed of these body parts was very fast, far faster than cultivators. It was almost as if they were teleporting and were leaving afterimages in the void. Wang Lin and Li Yuan were charging toward the west as they flew through the void. An extremely gloomy aura immediately spread out. This aura was very strong and was spreading out like an invisible mist. Li Yuan's expression changed slightly. Just as he was about to spread out his divine sense to check, a ray of red light suddenly appeared in the distance. This red light was very strong and powerful. Li Yuan took a deep breath. He could clearly see a severed arm inside that red light. Wang Lin grabbed Li Yuan and immediately dragged him backwards. His eyes were like lightning as he stared at the red light in the void. The severed arm inside the red light was covered in blood, and the 5 fingers were skinny. However, when people saw it, they would feel a chill inside their heart. In particular, those sharp fingernails looked like they could rip the void open. At the moment Wang Lin looked at the severed arm, the arm seemed to notice Wang Lin and turned toward him. It was still a distance away when it swiped in the void. There was a loud rumble and 5 spatial cracks shot out toward Wang Lin. It was as if 5 cracks had suddenly appeared on a piece of white paper. If they touched Wang Lin, his body and origin soul would be ripped apart. Wang Lin's eyes suddenly shrank and he immediately retreated. His right hand formed a seal and a bolt of purple thunder shot out from his origin soul toward the severed arm. The severed arm didn't even dodge and directly grabbed the purple thunder. The arm squeezed, causing the purple thunder to immediately collapse into origin energy, which it then absorbed. This scene caused Wang Lin to frown. He let out a cold snort as he opened his mouth and spat out a grain of sand that turned into the fragment stamp. The fragment stamp immediately smashed toward the severed arm. The fragment stamp descended with a bang, but at the moment it descended, there was a sudden red flash from the arm. The arm was able to dodge the stamp. Wang Lin's expression was gloomy as he continued to retreat. At this moment the arm closed in and reached out. 5 cracks appeared instantly before Wang Lin, wanting to tear his body into pieces. The bloodlust from the severed arm began to spread, and it seemed to contain a powerful poison. Wang Lin immediately felt his flesh being invaded by this aura and felt a burning sensation. He retreated once more and he was very shocked. This severed arm that had suddenly appeared was too strange. This was the most dangerous battle Wang Lin had fought since reaching the corporeal yang stage. Those 5 spatial cracks released a cold wind that caused Wang Lin's origin soul to freeze when it blew on his body. Seeing the 5 spatial cracks rapidly approaching, Wang Lin opened his third eye without any hesitation. A flash of red light opened up like a fan and immediately enveloped the 5 spatial cracks. In Wang Lin's eyes, the spatial cracks seemed to return to their original forms and rapidly dissipated. In the end, only 5 drops of dark red blood remained. After an instant, Wang Lin pointed forward and shouted, "Stop!" At the same time, the beast bone tattoo on the back of his right hand appeared as if surrounding Wang Lin's right hand. A flash of ghostly light came from the beast bone tattoo, and then the evil aura came out. This evil aura was monstrous, and the ghostly light flashed once more. Gray immediately appeared in the 5 drops of dark red blood, as if they had mixed with gray mist. They looked very beautiful. In an instant, 3 of the drops of blood turned into stone and the other 2 drops quickly retreated back into the arm. The severed arm immediately turned around, stopped chasing Wang Lin, and quickly left. Wang Lin's expression was gloomy as he looked at the 3 drops of blood that had turned into stone. He grabbed them and immediately put them into his bag of holding. Then he took out the celestial sword and quickly chased after the severed arm with a cold gaze. This severed arm was simply too strange. At the moment he saw it, he couldn't help but think of the eyeball from inside the 5-colored vortex. In Wang Lin's eyes, they seemed to be from the same source. That arm is very strong. It is equivalent to the power of a peak corporeal yang cultivator, and is infinitely close to a nirvana scryer cultivator. Wang Lin's eyes were cold as he chased after the arm and mercilessly. Why chop down with the celestial sword? The heavenly chop caused a ray of sword energy to shoot out. When it fell, it was as if it was cutting open the laws of the world, causing the void to shake violently. A long spatial crack suddenly appeared and headed straight for the severed arm. The severed arm suddenly stopped mid-flight, began to form a seal, and pressed it toward the spatial crack. This immediately caused a loud bang, and everything within 1,000 feet of the severed arm seemed to begin to collapse. There was a flash of coldness in Wang Lin's eyes. With a point of his finger, the fragment stamp flew out once more. This time it was too fast and immediately smashed down on the severed arm. The severed arm immediately trembled. It glowed red as if it was injured and began to escape even faster. Just at this moment, a team of 7 or 8 cultivators from a cultivation family was passing by, and their faces were filled with shock. Their cultivation levels weren't high. They were all around the mid and late stages of ascendant. They were quickly flying toward here as if there was a powerful enemy chasing them. That severed arm immediately turned around toward that cultivation family. It was so fast that it got near the cultivation family in the blink of an eye and began tearing them apart. The severed arm crushed the cultivators' origin souls and absorbed their origin energy. After several breaths of time, all of the cultivators in this cultivation family were killed and their origin souls were absorbed by the severed arm. The red light from the severed arm became even stronger. Not only had the injuries on the arm healed, it looked even more powerful than before. When Wang Lin saw this as he closed in, his expression became even more gloomy. He saw in the distance another ray of red light quickly closing in. This time it was a severed leg inside the red light. Wang Lin immediately turned and left without any hesitation. The severed arm seemed to hesitate, but it decided to not pursue Wang Lin. It flew together with the severed leg and disappeared into the void. Even after it left, the strong scent of blood lingered in the area. The entire Thunder Celestial realm was extremely chaotic. The 8 severed limbs each had the power of a peak corporeal yang cultivator. Not only did spells have no effect on them, but one would be killed and have their origin soul crushed for origin energy if they came across it. Only magical treasures had some effect, but it wasn't much. Adding on the powerful poison in the blood light, it allowed these severed limbs to rampage across the celestial realm. They didn't stop but traveled quickly through the void. It didn't take long before 8 rays of red light reached the center of the celestial realm. When they combined together, A primal roar suddenly echoed across the celestial realm. The severed limb fused together to form a complete body. This person had a head of white hair. His face was filled with hideous scars, and his body was damaged all over. His right eye was missing, leaving only his left one, which held a cold gaze. Celestial Lord Qing Shui, no matter how strong your seal was, it couldn't beat the passage of time. You wouldn't dare to kill me. If you wanted to kill me, why did you place a healing formation outside the sealing formation? However, I have to thank you because if you had not sealed formation, I fear I wouldn't have survived through the collapse of the celestial realm. Qing Shui, since I didn't die, you naturally aren't dead either. Unless you can find another sealing vortex left behind by the ancient celestial realm, you will not seal me again. The white-haired person had a ferocious expression as he laughed wildly and charged into the void. He was simply too fast, and because he knew the Thunder Celestial Realm very well, he immediately appeared above a fragment. This fragment was the one where Wang Lin and Li Yuan opened the seal and went into the passage inside the dark hole. Flying above the fragment, the man pressed his hand down and the entire fragment immediately collapsed. This was where the 9th seal was located. As the fragment collapsed, a monstrous flame shot out from within. There was flash of red light and then an eye flew out. The person grabbed the eye and placed it inside his right eye socket. The G realm was sealed into the right eye, but too much of it was consumed back in the Celestial Realm War. It will be very difficult to replenish it, but it is not impossible. However, I have just escaped, so my cultivation is only at 10%. I must restore my celestial origin energy as soon as possible. There was a flash of red from the man's eyes and he revealed a grim sneer. It seems a lot of junior cultivators have developed over the years. Very good. Although devouring them all won't completely restore my cultivation, I will be able to recover enough. However, before I begin to devour them, I must close the celestial gate to make sure they can't escape. As he grinned, his body disappeared within the void. Wang Lin grabbed Li Yuan and headed straight toward the gate on the west side of the celestial realm. They were silent the entire way. Wang Lin looked ahead gloomy. He had a premonition that the Thunder Celestial Realm was going to become extremely chaotic. We must get out of here as soon as possible. Wang Lin's eyes lit up and they began to move even faster. Along the way they saw many cultivators, and their goals were all the same. The Celestial Gate. It was obvious that many of them had the same idea as Wang Lin. Rays of light moved like meteors westwards. None of them had the leisure to talk to each other, and they were all moving as fast as they could. They gradually grew closer to the Celestial Gate. Soon they could see the giant bolt of red thunder that descended from the sky. At this moment, the various cultivators began to teleport as they wanted to leave even faster. But just as this moment, a red mist charged over like a powerful wave and a hoarse voice echoed between the heavens and earth. No one can leave. A person walked out from the red mist. He had white hair and his whole body was like a bag of bones. His eyes were red, and as he stepped forward his hand reached out, causing an unimaginable powerful force to suddenly fill the area. Several ascendant cultivators were filled with terror, and their bodies immediately collapsed into a mist of blood and flesh. All of this was inhaled by this person. Even their origin souls couldn't escape and were devoured as well. Why do the Qi cultivators nowadays have so little origin energy? After turning this origin energy into celestial origin energy, there is almost nothing left. The white-haired man frowned and he charged toward the celestial gate. This scene caused all the cultivators' expressions to change greatly. The moment the white-haired man appeared, he caused more than 10 cultivators to die. He also directly devoured their flesh and origin souls. This shocking scene caused everyone to suck in a breath of cold air. Upon seeing this strange man charging toward the celestial gate, no one dared to step forward to stop him. Just at this moment, one person among the several cultivators near the celestial gate flew out. He was middle-aged and was wearing a golden robe. His eyes were like lightning and he was at the illusory Yin stage. He slapped his bag of holding and 13 flying swords flew out. With a point of his finger, the sword shot toward the strange white-haired man. Fellow cultivators, please act and stop this person from reaching the gate, or else none of us will be able to leave. Behind the middle-aged man, several cultivators clenched their teeth. They all took out their treasures and charged out. The strange white-haired man let out a creepy laughter, and in a flash his body seemed to merge with the world, disappearing without a trace. When he reappeared, he was next to the celestial gate, which was the giant bolt of red thunder that descended from the sky. The moment he appeared, his right hand formed a seal and hit the red thunder. There was a loud rumble that echoed across the heavens and earth. Thunder, celestial gate, close. The hoarse voice was like a chilly wind that entered the ears of the cultivators around him. That giant bolt of red thunder began shrinking rapidly. Just at this moment, the surrounding cultivators began to react. They all took out various treasures and charged toward the strange man. Among them were less than 10 illusory cultivators. They were the primary force of this attack, and they were charging straight toward the strange man. The Thunder Celestial Realm will close and all of you will be my food. The strange white-haired man's eyes revealed a cold gaze. Without even looking at the attacks coming toward him, he disappeared and then reappeared behind a late-stage Ascendant Cultivator. His speed was beyond imagination. The Ascendant Cultivator was an old man. His expression changed greatly and his eyes were filled with fear. However, before he had time to turn around, the strange white-haired man's hand directly penetrated the old man's chest. He seized the old man's origin soul and directly crushed it. The old man was able to hear his chest shatter and his origin soul collapse. His vision blacked out and his life was lost. His entire body, along with his origin soul, was devoured by the strange white-haired man. The origin energy is too weak. The strange white-haired man's body flickered once more and disappeared. The next time he appeared, he was in front of the golden-robed man that acted first. The golden-robed man's face turned pale and he retreated without any hesitation. However, it was too late. The white-haired man let out a creepy laugh. Then his body turned into a bloody shadow that went into the golden-robed man's body. Explosions echoed inside the golden-robed man's body before he bursted into a mist of blood. The white-haired man took form inside the mist of blood and devoured the golden-robed man's origin soul. His eyes lit up and he smiled. Not bad, this is a chi cultivator. After licking his lips, he disappeared once more. There were more than 100 cultivators around, but there were even more cultivators closing in. They obviously wanted to leave through here. As the number of cultivators increased, the white-haired man was like a fish in water. He was simply too fast and vicious, and he could kill a person in an instant. As a result, it was impossible for the surrounding cultivators to work together. Fear gradually grew, and as the celestial gate rapidly shrank to the point of disappearing completely, the fear grew even stronger. It was unknown who started it, but all the surrounding cultivators gave up sieging the white-haired man. Instead, they dispersed and charged toward the disappearing celestial gate from all directions. The white-haired man let out a grim smile as he devoured a few more cultivators. Then his hand formed a seal and he shouted, "Celestial spell clones!" In an instant, the white-haired man split into two and then again from 2 to 4. This continued, and in an instant there were 32 of him. The 32 clones charged out and immediately merged with the world. When they reappeared, they were within 10,000 feet of the celestial gate. At the same moment, miserable screams filled the air. All of the cultivators that were within 10,000 feet had their bodies destroyed by the clones and their origin souls devoured. Their resistance had no real effect on the clones. They often died before they could even act. However, even more cultivators rushed in toward the celestial gate. After all, the celestial gate was the only path to survival. Interesting. I want to see how many among you junior chi cultivators can actually escape. The white-haired man laughed as his body disappeared and reappeared behind an illusory cultivator. That illusory cultivator's eyes became cold, and he exploded his origin soul without hesitation. His origin soul and body turned into origin energy and collapsed. Even though he couldn't escape death, he still had a choice. The choice to die with dignity. This was self-destruction. Under the loud rumble, the white-haired man frowned. He didn't retreat and instead inhaled in all the surrounding origin energy into his mouth. This is a chi cultivator with guts. It was a massacre, and as the celestial gate was about to disappear, this slaughter reached its peak. Most of the cultivators were rushing in like crazy in order to escape. After all, the celestial gate was the only hope. However, with that white-haired man's 32 clones covering the 10,000 feet area, only illusory EN cultivators could get within 1,000 feet of the gate. Everyone else would die before even getting within 1,000 feet. As for the illusory EN cultivators that rushed within 1,000 feet, they all suffered the same fate. They all died as soon as the white-haired man's origin body appeared. Bursts of creepy laughter came from the white-haired man. As he continued to slaughter and devour, his originally skinny body gradually expanded slightly. It was as if something was moving inside his body, and this made him look even more terrifying. The aura his body gave off became even stronger. Almost every time he devoured a cultivator, his aura became a bit stronger. The red light from his eyes became even stronger. The scent of blood immediately diffused and the eyes of the surrounding cultivators were filled with despair. The celestial gate was just about to dissipate completely. It didn't seem like it would take long before it disappeared completely. Once that bolt of red thunder disappeared, the Thunder Celestial Realm would be completely sealed. Just at this moment, more than 10 rays of sword energy flew in from the distance. These rays of sword energy were filled with origin energy and created a sharp roar as they rushed over. At the front, Zhang Konglia's eyes were cold, and behind him were more than 10 cultivators at the illusory EN stage. They were all charging toward the white-haired man. At the same time, several more rays of light came from another direction. The one in front was Tang Yanfeng. He had a gloomy expression and had people behind him as well. In addition to the people of his family, there were also cultivators from other families that he was good friends with. However, they were all only at the illusory EN stage. These two groups were extremely fast as they charged toward the white-haired man. Before they even arrived, origin energy and magical treasures were sent out first. The people led by Tang Yanfeng and Zhang Konglai launched their attacks without any hesitation. The white-haired man's eyes revealed a red glow and he grinned. He completely ignored the spells and magical treasures heading toward him and charged out. He appeared inside Tang Yanfeng's group and immediately grabbed a person. That cultivator revealed a decisive gaze before his body immediately exploded, causing a large ripple to spread. The white-haired man let out a cold snort and was about to inhale when a fierce sword energy filled with thunder came from afar. This sword energy rich in thunder came from Shengong Hu. Deadly entanglement. After Tang Yanfeng shouted, the cultivators in his group immediately used all their strength to trap the white-haired man. At the same time, Zhang Konglai charged out with a copper furnace. He was filled with killing intent as he charged toward the white-haired man. Tang Yanfeng also gave up his personal grudge with Shengong Hu. He waved his sleeves and a white mist immediately appeared. His eyes lit up and he charged in. Shengong Hu and Zhang Konglai charged in without any hesitation. 3 powerful corporeal young cultivators began their attack on the white-haired man at the same time. The surrounding 10+ illusory EN cultivators didn't retreat. They all began using their magical treasures and started a siege. Although there were few corporeal young cultivators, Shengong Hu's people weren't the only ones. There were 2 more corporeal young cultivators that didn't hesitate to rush into the white mist and use their powerful origin energy spells. With someone taking lead, the surrounding cultivator spirits were lifted and they were about to join the siege when the 32 clones of the white-haired man began to slaughter the surrounding cultivators. There were also cultivators among them that wanted to preserve their own lives and take this opportunity to rush at the disappearing celestial gate. There were many people who had similar ideas, but they were all killed by the white-haired man's clone when they got within 10,000 feet of the gate. Even though this was happening, there were still cultivators trying to rush toward the celestial gate. As more cultivators arrived, this situation reached its peak. Wang Lin had already grabbed Li Yuan and retreated the moment the white-haired man appeared. They retreated more than 500 meters away. As they heard the constant screams of dying cultivators, Wang Lin's expression became extremely gloomy. Wang Lin saw Shengong Hu and company's appearance, and this made him hesitate. However, he looked at Li Yuan and didn't act. Beside him, Li Yuan's face was extremely pale. "Brother Su, I fear we won't be able to leave." Wang Lin silently pondered. This white-haired man was too strong. He secretly compared him to the blood ancestor, and judging from this person's cultivation, he was even stronger than the blood ancestor. This was not even the key point. Every time the white-haired man devoured a cultivator, his cultivation would increase. Thus, Wang Lin was able to figure out how high this person's cultivation level could reach. Wang Lin looked at Li Yuan and suddenly asked, "Brother Li, do you believe in me?" Li Yuan was startled and nodded. "Does Brother Su have a method of leaving?" "I naturally believe in Brother Su." Wang Lin hesitated before slowly saying, "I indeed have a spell, but I have not fully mastered it yet. If I take a person with me, while I'll come to no harm, the person I bring will likely suffer. If you agree, I can try it."
Li Yuan silanli pun darat.
He knew exactly how powerful the white-haired man was, and he knew he was no match. Even with Su Mu here, when facing the white-haired man, Su Mu might not even be able to protect himself, much less protect him. Li Yuan had a feeling that if he stayed here, he would without a doubt die. This feeling was very strong, and at this moment it completely engulfed his mind. Li Yuan's eyes lit up, revealing decisiveness, and he said, "Brother Su, please use the spell." "I'm willing to gamble." Wang Lin nodded. He became acquainted with Li Yuan in the Thunder Celestial Realm, and they had been through much together. Although they couldn't be considered best friends, they had been through trials and tribulations. If it wasn't for Li Yuan, Wang Lin believed that he would have died under the Blood Ancestors' pursuit. In this regard, Li Yuan had saved his life. After taking a deep breath, Wang Lin slowly backed up and opened his heart. As he recalled the feeling of merging with the world, ripples would appear with every step he took. After stepping back more than 10 steps, that feeling of merging with the world still hadn't appeared. Seeing that the celestial gate was ready to disappear at any moment, and hearing the screams of the dying cultivators, Wang Lin suppressed his anxiety and calmed his heart. He wasn't thinking about anything and did his best to calm himself down. In the end, as Wang Lin backed up, his eyes revealed a calm gaze. At this moment, he began merging with the world and gradually became closer and closer to becoming one with the world. After an unknown amount of time, the original feeling of merging with the world and being inseparable from it appeared once more in Wang Lin's heart. At this moment, he had the illusion that he had become the world. His eyes narrowed and were as calm as water. Wang Lin no longer backed up but walked forward one step at a time. He was extremely calm. Ripples appeared under his feet once more and slowly spread out. Wang Lin grabbed the dumbfounded Li Yuan as his body gradually disappeared into the void. Li Yuan felt a powerful force coming from Wang Lin, as if he was wrapped up by a sword. His vision became blurry and he couldn't see things clearly anymore. It was as if his entire being was being dragged through time and had extended infinitely. After grabbing Li Yuan's arm, Wang Lin's eyes were still as calm as water. As he stepped forward, he and Li Yuan disappeared as they truly entered the void. At this moment, the white-haired man that was being attacked by 5 powerful corporeal yang cultivators, more than 10 illusory yin cultivators, and large number of ascendant cultivators let out a loud laugh. As he laughed like crazy, his hand formed seals and he muttered some words. A layer of red light immediately appeared inside mist. All of the origin spells and magical treasures had no effect on the light screen. They weren't able to break it. Shengong, whose flying sword collided with the light screen. The flying sword immediately shattered inch by inch. The backlash caused Shengong Hu to cough out blood and immediately retreat. Not only him, but Zhang Konglai, Tang Tangfeng, and the other 2 corporeal yang cultivators all coughed out blood and were knocked back. As for the illusory yin cultivators, their origin souls shook and their bodies were thrown back. The white-haired man inside the light screen revealed a bloodthirsty grin and said with a hoarse voice, "Yes, now there is some combat ability. However, compared to the Celestial Army, you juniors are too weak. You're not even qualified to make me use my G realm." As he spoke, he opened his arms and the light screen around him suddenly expanded. It moved very fast and pushed away the white mist surrounding him. The surrounding cultivators couldn't help but retreat. There were few that were too slow that touched the light screen. The moment they touched the light screen, they let out screams and their bodies withered and became mummified. Even their origin souls collapsed, and the origin energy was absorbed by the light screen. From the outside, various cultivators charged out from the white mist in terror as if they were afraid they were too slow. As the white-haired man laughed, his figure flickered and he appeared behind an illusory yin cultivator that was falling behind. He crushed the cultivator's body and was about to devour the cultivator's origin soul when he suddenly turned around. For the first time, his eyes revealed shock and seriousness. Dao merged with the world. At the moment he turned around, the cultivator who lost his body exploded his origin soul. However, the white-haired man couldn't be bothered and also merged with the world. Ripples appeared under his feet and his body immediately disappeared. Not even many people in the celestial realm from back then were able to achieve Dao merged with the world. However, this person hasn't fully mastered it. The white-haired old man appeared 1,000 feet away from the celestial gate, and his eyes revealed a strange light. His right hand mercilessly grasped toward the void. "Come out for me." 5 huge spatial cracks suddenly appeared in the world. These cracks were large, and with a sharp whistling sound, it seemed to rip open 5 rifts in the world. A power clearly different from celestial spiritual energy and origin energy erupted from the white-haired man and entered the cracks. At this moment, all of the cultivators had the illusion that the entire world was violently shaking. Shengong, whose face was pale, and beside him Zhang Konglai was the same. Tang Yanfeng clenched his fists. The 3 of them looked at each other and saw the fear hidden deep within each other's eyes. A soft, muffled groan came out from the void before the old man. Following that, Wang Lin's figure appeared 500 feet from the celestial gate. Wang Lin was holding Li Yuan, whose orifices were bleeding and his eyes were filled with confusion. At the moment he appeared, Li Yuan coughed out a large amount of blood. It was obvious he couldn't bear Wang Lin's spell. The moment Wang Lin appeared, he didn't hesitate at all. Almost at the moment he appeared, he mercilessly threw Li Yuan forward. A powerful surge of origin energy surrounded Li Yuan, causing him to fly like lightning toward the dissipating celestial gate that was only the size of a fist. That white-haired old man sneered as he took a step forward and immediately disappeared. Wang Lin's eyes became cold and his origin energy surged out without any hesitation to form a vortex. The might of thunder came out from his origin soul and countless bolts of thunder entered the vortex. "Explode!" Wang Lin shouted without any hesitation the moment the old man disappeared. A loud rumble suddenly exploded inside the void. This sound was so shocking that it caused all of the surrounding cultivators to suck in breaths of cold air. Shengong, whose eyes narrowed as he stared at Wang Lin and revealed a look of joy. Not only him but Zhang Konglai was the same. "It's him." Tang Yanfeng frowned. He recognized Wang Lin as Su Mu, who he had no confidence in winning against. At the same time, the origin vortex in front of Wang Lin collapsed was the same time the white-haired man appeared before Wang Lin. The vortex immediately collapsed and the white-haired man's eyes revealed a mysterious light as he laughed. He mercilessly inhaled and all the origin energy from the collapse of the vortex was inhaled into his mouth. Wang Lin quickly retreated and caught up to Li Yuan. He pushed Li Yuan and shouted, "Li Yuan, quickly, activate the thunder furnace." His voice was like thunder that rushed into Li Yuan's brain. Still confused, Li Yuan subconsciously took out the thunder furnace. The moment he took it out, it was when his body touched the dissipating celestial gate that was only the size of a fist. A ray of light came from the furnace and wrapped around Li Yuan before he disappeared. At the same time, Wang Lin also took out the thunder furnace and was about to leave as well. At this moment, the white-haired man's eyes lit up and he softly said, "Gate close." After that was said, the celestial gate that had shrunk to the size of a fist immediately collapsed and disappeared. As Wang Lin held the thunder furnace, his eyes became cold. He didn't even look back and immediately teleported toward the void. The old man laughed and chased after Wang Lin. "I remember now, you are that cautious Qi cultivator." The white-haired man was too fast, so he caught up to Wang Lin in one step. His large hand viciously grasped toward Wang Lin's back. "I don't like cautious people. Even the Ji realm wasn't able to kill you. I want to see how you will escape this time." The white-haired man's eyes glowed red, and there was a harsh whistling sound along with his grasp. In an instant, all of Wang Lin's paths of retreat were sealed. Shengong, who suddenly opened his eyes and his eyes were filled with expectation. "My lord, please act." Zhang Konglai was extremely alert and thought, "This strange man is too strong. I just don't know if senior is stronger." As for Tang Yanfeng, he sneered as he stared at Wang Lin and thought at the bottom of his heart, "Although this person is strong, even with the 5 of us and many illusory cultivators, we were no match for the strange man." He is at the same cultivation level as me and will without a doubt die. I want to see how he is killed. That will save me some trouble in the future." At this moment, Wang Lin was in the limelight. Not only were Shengong Hu, Zhang Konglai, Tang Yanfeng, and the 2 remaining corporeal young cultivators looking at him, all of the cultivators from the various families all had their eyes on Wang Lin. All of this was because Wang Lin had appeared within 500 feet of the Celestial Gate and, most importantly, had sent Li Yuan outside. Li Yun became the first and only cultivator to successfully leave the Thunder Celestial Realm. All of this caused Wang Lin to become the focus of all the cultivators in an instant. Wang Lin's expression turned gloomy when he noticed that all of his paths of retreat had been blocked by the white-haired man. This seal wasn't visible to the eye, but his divine sense felt like there were sharp blades in all directions. No matter where he went, it would be like running into a sharp blade. Even teleportation couldn't be used. He was completely trapped here. The white-haired man grinned and his right hand formed a claw that moved like lightning. He suddenly appeared behind Wang Lin and reached toward his heart. 5 spatial rifts whistled through the void toward Wang Lin. All of the hair on Wang Lin's body stood up. Feeling the crisis, he didn't hesitate to raise his finger and quickly shout, "Wind!" In an instant, a black wind appeared on Wang Lin's right hand. A moment later, it grew and diffused as if it had replaced everything in the world. After the black wind appeared, it immediately swept the area. Wang Lin was inside the black wind as he suddenly turned around. His eyes were black and his hair was flowing in the wind. Right now he didn't look like a celestial but rather a devil. His gaze was like a sword that landed on the incoming white-haired man. Just at this moment, the black wind formed a black dragon before Wang Lin. This dragon was illusory and seemed unstable, but after it formed, it immediately charged toward the white-haired man and spat out a gust of wind. This wind could extinguish the fire of all life. The white-haired man was startled. His eyes revealed a strange light as he stared at Wang Lin inside the black wind and slowly said, "This is called the wind." "Yes, it's called the wind. What is your relationship with Celestial Emperor Bai Fan?" Wang Lin didn't reply. His hand formed a seal and the origin energy in his body surged like crazy. Then the black wind charged toward the white-haired man. The 5 spatial cracks trembled and immediately slowed down when the black wind blew by. At the same time, the black wind from the black dragon's mouth charged toward the white-haired man. For the first time, the white-haired man's eyes revealed seriousness as he stared at the black dragon formed from the black wind. Both of his hands formed a seal and he shouted, "Lands collapse!" A sharp, tearing sound immediately echoed and a large crack appeared before the white-haired man and charged toward Wang Lin. This crack was very deep and spread out. It was like a dragon rushing out from the void. It charged like crazy toward Wang Lin and collided with the black dragon formed from the black wind. The loud rumble echoed across the world. All of the black wind around Wang Lin surged out and created a powerful impact with the crack. Wang Lin's body quickly retreated like a kite with a broken line. At this moment, the white-haired man took a step forward and charged toward Wang Lin. Wang Lin's eyes revealed decisiveness as his right hand pointed toward the void without any hesitation. A bolt of red light directly shot out from his hand toward the void. The black wind dissipated and the huge crack seemed to be caught by a large hand and could no longer move forward. Soon after, the crack collapsed and disintegrated. That white-haired man continued to pursue, but his eyes immediately narrowed as he stared at the red lightning that was thrown out by Wang Lin. His body flickered and in the blink of an eye he caught up to the red lightning. He grabbed it and pressed it against his red eye. He was too fast. After he collected the red lightning, he took a step and merged with the world. When he reappeared, he was behind Wang Lin, who was rapidly retreating. At the moment he appeared, Wang Lin opened his mouth and spat out a grain of sand. The sand immediately became a large fragment stamp, and under Wang Lin's control, it smashed toward the white-haired man. The white-haired man's eyes lit up and his right hand reached toward the descending fragment stamp. There was a loud bang and then the fragment stamp couldn't descend anymore. At the same time, Wang Lin's right hand formed a seal and pressed forward. The beast bone tattoo immediately turned into the giant beast bone with 4 torns. There was a ghostly flash as the evil aura shot toward the white-haired man. "Master Carefree's withered Dao pair." The white-haired man's eyes revealed a look of disbelief. The beast bone's eyes released a ghostly flash and the evil aura caused gray to appear on the white-haired man's feet and quickly spread. The white-haired man let out a grim smile and then he mercilessly took a step forward. There was a bang inside his body, and then the gray parts on the outside immediately collapsed. "You're a very interesting chi cultivator." The white-haired man's eyes were filled with bloodlust. With one step, he rushed toward Wang Lin, leaving behind an afterimage. Wang Lin immediately changed directions and retreated. At the same time, he slapped his bag of holding and the celestial sword appeared in his hand. He mercilessly slashed the sword down behind him. The heavenly chop immediately appeared, and in an instant it looked as if the void had disappeared, leaving only the sword energy. Behind the void seemed to be forced open as the white-haired old man appeared, but his expression changed once more. "This is the sword technique of the Rain Celestial Realm's celestial sword." The white-haired man frowned. His right hand reached out and the heavenly chop immediately collapsed. Wang Lin's expression was extremely gloomy. At the moment the heavenly chop collapsed, he retreated once more. The white-haired man let out a sneer and then took a step, allowing him to arrive behind Wang Lin, and his hand clawed toward Wang Lin. Wang Lin's eyes were filled with killing intent as he slapped his bag of holding and half of the blood body appeared in his hand. He immediately inhaled a large amount of origin energy into his body. The origin energy came out from the pores in his body, and he didn't hesitate to create another vortex. "Explode!" As he shouted, the vortex before Wang Lin exploded, creating a powerful impact. The white-haired man's right hand paused slightly. Taking this chance, Wang Lin quickly retreated. His right hand clutched half of the blood body and his left hand formed a seal. His eyes were filled with a hint of madness. This white-haired man was strong. None of Wang Lin's spells and magical treasures had any effect. His left finger pointed at the sky and he shouted, "Wind!" The large amount of origin energy he absorbed from his right hand went through his body and out through the seal in his left hand. A black wind more powerful than last time appeared before Wang Lin. Still not enough. As Wang Lin continued to retreat inside the black wind, his right hand sucked more origin energy. The blood body immediately shrank as half of the origin energy was sucked away by Wang Lin like crazy, regardless of whether his body could handle it. The black wind around him suddenly grew by several times. At this moment it seemed like the world was filled with black wind. Wang Lin's eyes were bloodshot as he shouted, "Call the wind!" His voice came out from the black wind, and it was like the roar from the wind. The black wind suddenly changed and turned into two black dragons. The two black dragons were extremely ferocious. They surrounded the white-haired man and opened their mouths to spit out large amounts of cold wind. The white-haired old man's body was blown away by the cold wind and trembled. However, his eyes were immediately filled with killing intent. Just at this moment, Wang Lin screamed in his heart, "Not enough, absorb more!" The half of the blood body in Wang Lin's hand immediately shrank. At the same time, sounds of explosions came from inside his body. Apparently, his body couldn't withstand such a large amount of origin energy operating at once. Bursts of black wind came out from Wang Lin's pores and gathered like crazy. In an instant, another black dragon formed from the black wind. The three black dragons immediately trapped the white-haired man and released blasts of cold wind. No matter how the white-haired man dodged, the three black dragons surrounded him. Wang Lin's eyes became cold. Taking advantage of the black dragons surrounding the white-haired man, Wang Lin caused the blood body in his hand to be on the verge of collapse before throwing it at the white-haired man. At the moment the blood body closed in, Wang Lin shouted, "Explode!" A flash of red light came from the blood body, and then the origin energy Wang Lin had injected into it collapsed. This caused a series of chain reactions, and the blood body exploded. This was an unimaginable force. Under the blast from the three black dragons and the blood body explosion, the entire void began to shake. Even space itself began to collapse. Wang Lin quickly retreated and put away all his treasures. Ripples appeared under his feet as he forced himself to calm down so he could merge with the world. His battle with the white-haired man didn't last long, but it was extremely fierce and difficult to imagine. In particular, those last three black dragons and the explosion of the blood body caused the battle to reach a peak. The surrounding cultivators continued to retreat as they watched Wang Lin battle. Their hearts were shaken greatly, and Wang Lin's figure was engraved deep in their minds and wouldn't dissipate in their entire lives. Shengong, whose eyes were filled with extreme excitement, as he stared at the retreating Wang Lin, the respect he had for Wang Lin climbed once more. Zhang Konglai was the same as he carefully watched the battle. As for Tang Yanfeng, his expression changed greatly and sucked in a breath of cold air. His gaze toward Wang Lin was filled with terror. That black wind had far exceeded his imagination. It was lucky that I didn't attack back then. Otherwise, with that black wind. Tang Yanfeng's expression was extremely gloomy, and he didn't continue thinking, "This person is too strong. It is impossible for him to die, so I must quickly retreat." More ripples appeared under Wang Lin's feet. At this instant, his body merged with the world, and as he took another step back, his body slowly dissipated. However, just at this moment, he felt as if someone had pushed him and interrupted him when he was merging with the world. His body stopped dissipating and immediately condensed. "Little fellow faded with me, don't be in such a hurry to leave. I can't come here right now, so let me borrow your body." An old voice immediately appeared inside Wang Lin's mind. At the same time, a power only he could feel came from the void behind him through some unknown method. It immediately cut off Wang Lin's origin soul's connection with his body. Under this power, Wang Lin's origin soul was immediately compressed, and another powerful origin soul started forming. In the blink of an eye, another origin soul was formed. This origin soul's appearance was exactly the same as the mysterious old man who had borrowed the Thunder Beast. The old man's origin soul moved and completely took control of Wang Lin's body. At this instant, Wang Lin changed completely and a powerful pressure came from his body. Wang Lin watched from the outside as his body stepped forward and moved. It was as if the old man was getting used to his body. At this moment where the void collapsed after the impact passed, a completely black statue was revealed. Waves of cracking sounds came from the statue and a crack appeared between its eyebrows. More and more cracks appeared until a pair of hands came out from the gap and mercilessly tore the crack open. A black-haired middle-aged man walked out. There were no scars on his body, but his eyes were filled with killing intent. By Fan's celestial spell, Qing Shuang's celestial sword, Master Carefree's treasure, and the body of someone that is a match for a celestial lord. Ever since I awakened, you are the most powerful Qi cultivator I have encountered. You are qualified to say your name. This person's appearance was similar to the white-haired man, but it was as if he had become a lot younger. As the middle-aged man spoke, his right hand hit the statue and the statue immediately melted, forming a black spear that he held in his hand. What's with all this nonsense? Isn't it just a celestial? You're just a celestial general. And not to mention your current cultivation level is only celestial lord. Wang Lin watched his body speak this with an old-fashioned tone. However, he had a vague feeling that these words seemed to be lacking in confidence. As his body spoke, his body moved forward and his right hand pressed down. The entire void moved and white gas began to rapidly gather. Soon, it turned into a white ball the size of a fist and charged toward the middle-aged man. To be able to gather the force from the heavens and earth, who are you? The middle-aged man became serious and his spear drew an arc. Countless red lights appeared out of thin air and gathered in that arc. The arc condensed and shot out toward the ball of light. The balls of light and the arc collided. They both immediately dissipated and made no sound, but countless cracks began to spread from the center of the colossine. It spread far too fast and even affected a few cultivators who couldn't dodge quickly enough. The moment the cracks touched their bodies, their entire bodies trembled and then disappeared without a trace. Wang Lin's body's eyes shrank an indiscernible amount as he stepped forward and directly merged with the world without any resistance. However, he didn't disappear and instead pointed at the sky with a seal he had made with his right hand and shouted, "Celestial burning flame." In an instant, a red flame silently appeared and spread across the sky. This flame appeared out of nowhere and contained a terrifying aura. The moment the flame appeared, it covered most of the sky. The surrounding cultivators immediately retreated as they were afraid to get caught inside. This flame was too powerful. It was as if it would refine the world. Even a tiny spark was enough to cause the surrounding cultivators to be filled with aghast. Powerful origin energy spread, causing Wang Lin's figure to flicker inside the flame. However, no one dared to not look at Wang Lin. Wang Lin's body raised his right hand and pressed it down, then he shouted, "Blaze!" The surroundings immediately collapsed and the flame covering the sky began to become more dense. It was as if oil had been dumped into the flame and caused it to erupt. The surrounding flames rushed toward the middle-aged man at the center. During this process, it was as if the flame had turned into countless fire dragons that carried with them a powerful heat wave as they attempted to devour the middle-aged man. The middle-aged man's eyes became serious and cold. He let go of the spear in his hand and the spear immediately shattered. The shattered spear orbited around him. At the same time, he pressed his right index finger on his right hand and red light from his eyes immediately began to intensify. I didn't think there would be people who had reached such a level of cultivation among the junior chi cultivators. Not simple. As he spoke, his right eye flashed red and a ray of red lightning immediately shot out. The moment this lightning appeared, a monstrous cold aura spread out and it shot toward Wang Lin. Under this cold aura, as the red lightning moved forward, the flame before it seemed to extinguish, leaving behind a long trail as it rushed toward Wang Lin. Wang Lin's body's eyes became serious. His hands formed a seal and he pointed with his finger as he shouted, "Flame!" Explosions suddenly echoed as the flames surrounding the middle-aged man suddenly rose into the air and formed a fireball. At the center of the fireball was the middle-aged man. The moment the fireball formed, it immediately began to shrink as if it wanted to burn everything inside. It burned not only all tangible things but also the intangible. Large amounts of space began to collapse as if nothing could escape this flame. Only the G realm flashed out of the fireball and headed straight for Wang Lin. In the instant the fireball contracted, the G realm charged out and landed on Wang Lin's body. A destructive aura immediately exploded inside his body. Wang Lin could clearly see the old man's origin soul immediately collapse under the G realm. However, it immediately reformed and then collapsed again. In a short period of time, the old man's origin soul experienced countless collapses and reforms. Every time this happened, his origin soul would become a bit weaker. These several breaths of time felt like an eternity to Wang Lin. He began to focus his origin soul, and at the moment the old man's origin soul collapsed, he acted without hesitation. Wang Lin had to help. Otherwise, once the old man's origin soul couldn't resist anymore or was unable to resist and decided to leave, Wang Lin wasn't confident he could resist the G realm himself. After all, the G realm from before came from within the seal. Although it was very strong, it was also extremely weak, as if it had no solid foundation. However, the situation now was very different as this G realm was very powerful. At the moment Wang Lin's origin soul acted, he immediately felt the terrifying power of the G realm. His origin soul trembled as origin energy spread out. The origin energy wrapped around the G realm and was broken through layer after layer like a sharp knife piercing through paper. Fortunately, the old man's origin soul had a moment to recover with Wang Lin's help. At the moment the G realm was about to pierce Wang Lin's origin soul, the old man swallowed it and continued to use his origin energy to seal the G realm. All of this felt extremely slow to Wang Lin, but in reality it happened in a short period of time. None of the surrounding cultivators saw through this. Dangerous. This is indeed worthy of Celestial Lord Qing Shui. The G realm is indeed shocking, and this old man didn't plan this in vain. Unfortunately, I couldn't come in my own body and almost caused my plan to fail. I didn't think that Celestial Lord Qing Shui would still have such strength after being sealed for so many years. The old man's tired voice came from inside Wang Lin's mind. At this moment, the fireball rapidly shrank until it was only 10 feet wide and then it collapsed. This caused all the power condensed inside to explode several fold stronger. For an instant, it was as if everything in the world was enveloped in the light from the flame. One could see the light from the flame coloring the sky even if they were far away. This light spread everywhere and Wang Lin's figure inside this light was filled with majesty. The excitement in Shengong, whose eyes had reached a peak. He looked at Wang Lin's figure and shouted, "This is my lord's real strength. My prediction earlier wasn't wrong." Zhang Konglai stood in the void. Although the flame was far away, he could still feel the heat. He was every excitement as he looked at the flame. The idea of doing the same thing as Shengong, who appeared in his heart once more. Senior's cultivation is unfathomable. It is obvious that he was suppressing his cultivation at corporeal yang stage before. and now it has risen countless fold. Also, his present strength mustn't be the limit. As for Tang Yanfeng, his expression was no longer gloomy but deathly pale. When he saw Wang Lin's battle with the white-haired man, he was extremely shocked. He didn't expect Wang Lin to control so many spells, but as shocked as he was able to reluctantly accept this fact in his heart. However, when he saw the flame, he sucked in a breath of cold air. The shock in his mind collapsed and was replaced with terror and aghast. Tang Yanfeng muttered to himself, Who the hell is he? Shengong, who sneered as he looked at the Tang Yanfeng and calmly said, Fellow cultivator Tang, do you still remember when you ridiculed me outside the Celestial Gate? You see, the person before you is the reason why I was willing to be punished by my family and isolated by the people of the Thunder Celestial Temple. Tang Yanfeng was dumbfounded as he stared at the figure inside the flame, and he couldn't say anything for a long time. Just at this moment, a low voice echoed, To not die to the G realm, you are very strong. A statue appeared inside the flames. When it shattered, a young man walked out. This young man was extremely handsome, but his expression contained a hint of evil.